What is going on, y'all? It is week 17. It's hard to believe we're already at week 17. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Hope y'all won some money with some DFS. I know we had a really good week as far as our calls on the show. So hopefully you checked us out last week and you won some money. This week we got a short 8-game slate that we're going to talk about tonight, and it's going to be all about how do we get different, right? On an 8-game slate, there's going to be a lot of chalky plays. It's going to be hard to be different. So we're going to talk about it tonight. How do you be different? Of course, well, as always, we'll give you our top plays, our values, our stacks, our locks of the week, and of course, our favorite segment, the sick call of the week. Let's go ahead and get to it.
Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah.
What is going on, and welcome to episode 414 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I am your host, of course, Geoff Lambert. Follow me on Twitter at JeoffLambert77. Hope everybody had a good Christmas. I'm here with my co-host, as always. Gerson is back this week. He was out sick last week. What's up, G?
What up? What up? Yeah, I was pretty bad. I'm still kind of sick too, but that's the thing that sucks. But I wanted to come on the show because I was going to the Raiders game, so I wanted to kind of go in with good vibe and stuff. But it's all right though because I forgot to put in my pick for DraftKings, Prize Pick, and all that. And then when I was in Vegas, I was like, why the hell is my shit not working? And then my brother reminded me, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, can't do anything in Vegas for sure. Tim, what's up, man?
What's up? What's up? Yeah, man. Coming off a great week, like you mentioned, probably one of my best weeks of the year. So ready to keep it rolling on the last real week of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. We had
Regular season anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that this is going to be the last season of this year, and then of course we'll do the wild card weekend, which will actually be next year in 2025. But yeah, it's the last show of this year. It's crazy to think, man. It flies by too fast that we've gone through 17 weeks already. But without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump right into the rewind.
The weekly rewind. Rewind.
All right. Well, Gerson already said he didn't have his one bad was that he forgot to put any lineups in, so that was his bad, really. But yeah. So Tim, let me go to you, man. What do you have for one good, one bad this week?
Yeah, so my one good last week was my stack. It was Caleb Williams, Keenan Allen, and Jahmyr Gibbs. I ran that in cash. I ran that in my GPPs. I used your boy Brian Thomas Jr. in that one as well. I think I scored a 198, so pretty good GPP score there. But unfortunately, my one bad was Chase Brown. I had him in cash. Thankfully, I still got there, but he certainly let me down last week. So
yeah, I made a last minute pivot. I had Chase Brown in my cash lineup the whole week. Sunday morning, I was talking to Aaron, who's been on the show a couple times, and he was like, "I just don't feel it this week. I feel like it's going to be a tough week for Chase Brown." So I pivoted to Bijan Robinson, and that paid off quite handsomely for me in my cash lineup. But my one good was Jonathan Taylor. Right, I talked about that he wanted to go out and show that he's still the man after that dropped touchdown. And not only was he the highest scoring running back, but I think he was the highest scoring player, period, on the slate, had like 41 points. So JT was awesome. My one bad, we just mentioned him. We really didn't talk a whole lot about him. We didn't even give him the drop. That's probably why he didn't do well. But Nico Collins was my one bad. I mentioned him real quick on the show. But yeah, he was the only one that really busted my lineups. But cash across the board, probably the best week I've had all season. And JT was a big part of it because I had a lot of JT in my tournament lineups, and he paid off handsomely for sure. All right, let's get to the quarterbacks.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
All right, I mentioned at the top it's an 8-game slate, so we don't have a ton of players to pick. So we're going to be talking about some of the same players here because it's just not a big player pool. But Gerson, why don't you kick us off here and talk about one of your favorite plays at quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty chalk at quarterback. Like everybody's probably going to play the same guys because when you have an 8-game slate, you kind of limit your pool very, very, very small. Just to give people advice on 8-game slate, condense your pool to your liking and make sure that you have really a lot of confidence in it. Because if you start getting wild with these like I don't know, like GPP plays that are like lowly owned, they can seriously put you behind on the field because everybody's playing the same plays. I mean, yeah, you can get different, but don't get too different, you know. Yeah, quarterback. I think the guy that I'm going to have the highest exposure to is definitely going to be Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's probably my favorite quarterback this week. Hold on, I actually had my notes and they went away. But Darnold, facing the Green Bay Packers, we seen this before. Darnold, to me, with the stack that he has, you can make it work. And there's a run back that I really like. He's 6.4K. Green Bay Packers, you know, their defense is good, like above average, I would say. But like in shootouts, when they get in shootout, they get in shootout, and that's Minnesota's offense is a lot better than a lot of offense they've been playing lately. But give me 6.4K. He's coming at 16% ownership, so you know he's gonna get owned a lot. And to be honest, I really thought he was gonna be like 7K this week. And when I saw 6.4K, I'm like, that's very affordable. The implied total is high. I think it's like the second highest one, I believe, next to Tampa Bay. They're at 25 implied total. So, and the Green Bay Packers implied total is at 23.5. So it tells you that this game's going to be very close. Going to be what do you call it, a shootout there or whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him. I think both sides are good. This is probably the best game environment of the slate.
Agreed.
That's the thing. So, yeah.
Tim, what about you? What you got for one of your favorite plays?
Yeah, I'll take the other side of that game. I wore the Packers hoodie for a reason today. I'm putting the Homer hat on this week. It's Jordan Love, 6,200. I think Gerson's right though. I think that's the best game of the week. I think you're going to want a ton of pieces of that game. I'll be stacking both sides of it, but I'll have a lot of exposure to Jordan Love. We made a joke in the chat about his stats during Toyotathon. He did the whole Toyotathon joke on Instagram. This dude has just been a monster over the last 4 weeks. And traditionally, this time of year, he's played really, really well, balled out in the same spot week 17 last year against the Vikings. So, yeah, I think Gerson's right. That's the game. You're going to want a ton of exposure to it, and you should probably stack it up both ways.
Yeah, I love that call. I'll take the third guy that's sort of in this top tier, and I'll take Baker Mayfield at 6.9 versus Carolina. The Bucks basically have to win these last 2 games to make the playoffs, so they're going to be all out in this game trying to get to this win, get this playoff. And Baker Mayfield's got trying to reach as well. So, you know, those incentives at the end of the year come into play. I think he can get $500,000 for each playoff game that he's in. So he's going to be definitely motivated. And I got a good stacking option with him with some good stats that we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, I like Baker Mayfield this week. Let's move down into the value tier here, Tim. Give me one of your salary savers here if you're going to pay down at quarterback.
I am. So the one I'm really watching is Anthony Richardson. He is questionable going into Sunday. I think if he's out, I'm going to be all over Joe Flacco. At 4,900, he's just simply too cheap. It's a great matchup against the Giants. And this week we want to pay up, right? We want to pay up for running back. We want to pay up for wide receiver. I love Jordan Love, and I think at 6,200 he's a great price. But if you're telling me I could get down to 4,900, I'm going to be very, very tempted to go that route. So that's going to be my value play if it opens up.
Good stuff. Gerson, you have the same guy that I have. So talk about Bryce Young a little bit at 5.6.
Yeah, I mean, Shout out to Bryce Young, man. The guy stuck it out. I mean, I think I mentioned it the other podcast too, but he's just going out there and you know, I don't know who his daddy or mommy is, but I'm pretty sure when he got benched, they gave him a, like the whole, things happen for a reason, and he's balling out. I think the biggest thing is like on this slate, if you hit the right value at quarterbacks, you can make a monster lineup with those top guys. So like Bryce is the only guy that I have confident. Um, we are waiting on that Anthony Richardson news though, because if Flacco starts, that opens up a lot too. Because
A
I
lot.
think I think Flacco's viable if he starts. Um,
100%.
but back to yeah, I mean, we already know Tampa Bay is one of the worst pass defense. Um, they're playing Tampa Bay, right? If I'm correct, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, they're one of the worst pass defense. He's gonna swing it to Thielen and the Raccoon Eater we get. If he played, I don't know if he's healthy 100%, but yeah, um, I, Tampa Bay has to win, so they're going to be competitive, and they have to shoot. And I think the whole Mike Evans thing, I love it because it only means they're going to pass the ball more and they're going to be faster paced. I think, like
100%.
Baker said it, I think about it more than he does, you know. So I love that. I love hearing that kind of stuff. And I think what's the name? Panthers defense is just horrible. So this is not going to really slow down Tampa Bay. And this is the only in pace wise, I like this game, but his salary can make the difference. Like I said,
Mhm.
if Flacco doesn't play, I mean, if Flacco starts, then I might pivot to him. But right now, Bryce Young's the only cheap quarterback I feel comfortable with because if those other sharp quarterbacks hit, you are screwed, my friend.
Yep.
I completely agree.
Tim, you
The
have.
only
I,
guy I had was Mason Rudolph at 5K. And like Gerson said, I really don't want to play him.
yeah.
My projections liked him. He came out as my second highest value quarterback. And he's had, a couple of decent games in here. But Gerson's right. If Love goes off, Darnold goes off, Baker goes off, you're way behind the field, and none of these guys you're going to catch up.
Yep. Agreed. That's pretty much it for the quarterbacks. Let's go ahead and get to the tight ends.
Did somebody say tight ends?
Tim, let's go to you. Kick it off here with the tight ends.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd go to Gerson actually, because I think there's only one guy you're paying up for at tight end this week. So I'm going to take, I guess I'll take the chalk play. Big news this week, or at least in the last 48 hours, with CD Lamb has been ruled out for the rest of the season. So I think the clear chalk play and the cash play at tight end is Jake Ferguson. 3,700, he's just too cheap. Projected between 8 and 10 targets. Philly is much better against cornerbacks. Everything just kind of lines up for him to have a decent day. I don't know if he can have that 20-point day, which is really my only concern here. But in terms of point per dollar, it's hard to look away from Jake Ferguson this week.
Yeah, good call. Gerson, what you got for one of your favorite plays here?
Yeah, I think I talk about him every single time. So we gotta find like the Bowser, like the Bowser.
Oh,
I know there's something with him.
yeah.
Bowser. Dude, when I was at okay, sorry, little storytelling time. When I was at the Raiders game, I never realized that the Raiders fan they go bow 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 when Bauer gets the ball. And fans, I was like, is that a thing? I didn't know that. And they love Bauer. Like Bauer looks freaking huge in real life. I didn't realize how big he was and how. I mean, I knew he was great, but like, I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a pass that he had like it was on the floor. He legit picked it off the floor with his fingertip and caught it and went up like 10 yards. But that was probably my favorite player that day. But Ballard, man, I don't think there's another tight end on this slate unless you call him Jonnu Smith and Ferguson. Those guys can get more than 20 points. But even Ferguson, I don't see him getting 20 points. Jonnu Smith, he has done it, but he's very touchdown dependent. But Bowers is the only tight end. And if you're going to play Bowers, you're not going to likely start him at your tight end spot. You're likely going to put him in your flex spot and then play Ferguson at a cheaper price at your tight end spot or any other tight end that you like. But I just love Bowers this week. He's 6,700. I mean, he's priced like a mid-tier wide receiver. So, and I think he's what in fantasy points per game, he's like top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
So
Top
get him,
five.
get him.
for every position. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I read he needs 5 receptions to break Puka's reception record. So like, that's going to happen.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Just absolutely lock it in.
That's the only one I have that we haven't talked about yet, and really I don't know if I like it because, like you said, if I'm paying up, it's going to be Bowers. If I'm playing that mid, it's probably Ferguson. But I wrote down Bretton Strange versus Tennessee at 4K. Didn't have a good week last week. I know he was pretty much chalky last week. Only had 4 targets, 2 receptions. But the week before that, he did have 12 targets. So that game is still there. The potential is still there. But at 4K, I think I'd rather go with Ferguson at 3.7 and save a little bit of cash. But I wanted to make sure to throw his name in there. And Tim, you have one more Packer there. You want to talk about him real quick?
Well, yeah, I'd rather just say that both tight ends in that game I think are very valuable. We talked about wanting exposure to that game. I think the lower owned pieces are going to be the tight ends, particularly Tucker Kraft. I think if any of Jordan Love's pass catchers, he's going to come in the lowest owned. So if you want to get a little different in some of your stacks, play these tight ends.
Yeah, you
I think
got
they'll go overlooked.
Kraft on the other. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's move down into the salary savers. There's not that tight end, that chalk that we're plugging this cheap guy. But Gerson, you got one guy down there that's pretty expensive. That
Right. Sorry, I kind of threw up in my mouth because that's how ugly it is down there. To give you a little background, when David and Yofu got ruled out, I had a two start tight end league. So I was riding, and Geoff knows this. I've been riding Njoku and Ingram, and now they're both out. They've done this to me, and I'm in the championship week, and I have Kelsey. Kelsey went off, great. But now I have no tight end, and on waiver wires in a 2014 league, you're not going to find shit at all. So I'm like, damn. And then I see like values and whatnot on DFS. I'm like, who the hell is Payne Durham? Then when I looked at him, I'm like, oh my goodness. I went right away and added him. He was available. So I was like, oh my goodness. But Payne Durham, he 2,900. When Alton got hurt, he came in and was pretty productive. For what 2,900? Honestly, the only way I'm playing him though, if I'm paying up for Bowers and putting him in my flex spot.
Yeah.
Because I am not going to have him when there's Tucker Kraft and TJ Hawkinson and Bowers and and Ferguson. Those guys are going to get you a solid 10 points plus.
Yeah.
Payne Durham can get you 0.
Yeah.
4. Yeah. Well, the floor is 4, I guess. I don't know, but it's just if you want.
One thing that shocked me though is that he played 93% of snaps last week.
Yeah.
And usually when you see these backup tight ends come in, like Luke Schoonmaker or whatever, right? They'll play like 60, 70% of snaps max. This dude was literally the replacement for Cade Otton. They were like, you're going to run every route that Cade Otton runs. He got 7 targets just like Cade Otton would. Like, he might as well just be Cade Otton, but he's $2,900.
Yeah.
So, like, I actually really like him too. I'm probably going to be overexposed on this guy just because value is so tough this week.
Yeah, agreed. Tim, you have the only other guy that me and you both have on there, so I'll let you talk about him, and then we can get to running back.
Yeah, that's where we're at, right? We're seriously considering playing Chig Okonkwo in Week 17. Like, that's where we're at. If he was cheaper than Jake Ferguson, like, I would really be considering him, but he's $100 less. So, like, I think you find the 100 to get up to Ferguson, but, like, that's where we are this week, where Chig Okonkwo is rating out as, like, a top 3 tight end value for me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to have of him. I think you're playing that mid-range is where you're living this week.
The biggest thing about him is that Mason Rudolph is the quarterback. Because Rudolph targeted him 11 targets in Week 16. That's a lot for a tight end. And then you're facing
21 in the last 2 weeks. Like nobody in the 3,000s is getting that much volume.
No,
So
and
that's
then
what you're praying for.
And then the other thing is the Jaguars defense. They allow the most passing yards to tight ends, so it makes sense, So I love that call.
Good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and get to the running backs.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
I'll kick us off here with the guy right at the top, Saquon Barkley, 8.6.
Yes.
We know he wants that record. He's going to go for it. He got Dallas this week. There's a very good possibility that he's got enough yards and they put up enough points that he's sitting out the third quarter. But I think he still gets, to 150 yards, at least 1 touchdown. at 8.6. I think Barkley, if you can find a way to afford him, it won't be easy, but he can be a slate breaker, really, if you don't have him in your lineup. At 8.6, I like Saquon a lot this week.
What? How many yards did he need to break the record?
I don't have the numbers in front of me here. Here, talk about your guy Gerson, and I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah. So Devon A-Chain, I can't believe that his price is 77. 266?
He needs 268 to break the record.
So 130 in each game, essentially.
Okay. So that's possible for him. And I think I wouldn't be shocked if he does get a lot of yards in like the first half, and then he has a chance to break the record in just that game. They're going to run the ball a lot.
Well, the crazy play next week. They play the Giants next week.
Yeah, Giants.
He wants to break the record. It's his old team.
Agreed.
Yeah, but I think to him it would mean more to do it in 16 games.
True.
Like the whole, I think NFL all know that the record books are kind of tainted now because of the extra game. But yeah, Devon A-Chain. I mean, this guy is hot. Like he's on fire right now. Like he is. If you have him in season long, he's the league winner. You drafted him probably in the second round, But like he is just on fire. I mean, he has. I think he has the most 20 yards per carry touch in the league. The Browns defense is pretty bad, and they are the most aggressive defense in the league too. So they love to pass rush. They're going to put pressure on Tua, and Tua is just going to do his little dump off passes. And we've seen where A-Chain had game where only 40 yards, 30 yards rushing, but then he has 80 yards, 10 receptions. I mean, that is like a cheat code, for a running back. It's just this is the third time. I mean, in the last damn it, I forgot what I was gonna say. But anyways, they play a lot of man cover too, so that for A-Chain really helps them out. It allows them to get open. And when you have wide receivers, I don't know if Jalen Waddle out or is he playing or
we haven't heard yet. Still questionable.
Okay. Well, Tyreek, you're gonna have your hands full in man on man, or single cover. But his price was just kind of shocking to me. 7,700. I thought he was gonna be like 8K. But I love him. He's probably my favorite player beside a couple of the wide receivers we have.
Yeah, I watched this TikTok account that does trivia, and today I was watching one, and they did the top 20 rushers in the NFL right now, and A-Chain is not on that list. He's not a top 20 rusher right now, but he's putting up monster fantasy points because he's getting all that work in the passing game thanks to his checkdowns and them running plays for him to get him in space. So yeah, he's definitely a great play for sure. All right, Tim, let's get to your lock.
Lock it in.
Yeah, so I love Saquon this week, and I think that he's certainly somebody you're going to want to be heavily exposed to. But the first running back that I plugged into my lineups this week is Bucky freaking Irving, man. This guy has been absolutely killing it ever since the bye, right? He took over after the bye week. We literally saw him smash this Panthers team, 4 weeks ago in Carolina for over 150 yards. It just sets up to be such a good spot. And he's 6,700, right? Like in this spot, he's 2,000 cheaper than Saquon, right? He's 1,000 cheaper than Devon A-Chain. So to me, the way prices are this week, he just fits in so perfectly that I'm probably going to have him in basically every lineup. And he's super chalky, but I don't care. I'm going to be 60, 70% Bucky this week. There's even, I was reading earlier, okay, we are not a weather show, but this may be if this ends up being a bad weather game too, they're just going to lean even heavily on Bucky. So everything is currently lining up for it to be just an absolute smash spot. So that's my first click, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I like that. Bucky number 7, I think is his nickname. So yeah, I like it. We'll go back. We got a couple more to talk about here. And I'm going to mention the guy that I talked about at the top of the show, Jonathan Taylor, playing Giants. His price has gone up $1,000 from last week, I believe. I think he was 6.9 this week. He's 6.9. So a little bit harder to click his name this week, but I do think it's still a viable option. Probably going to be a little bit lower owned because either you're going to pay up for Barkley or you're going to get some of those like Bucky Irving's, Devon A-Chain type names, and you're going to overlook JT there. So JT at 7.9 is someone that I like as well. Let's see. And I'll talk about the last guy I have on my list since y'all don't seem to have him, but I got Aaron Jones versus Green Bay. too.
I didn't lower down, I think.
Yeah, he's been getting a ton of volume, right? I think he had 18 carries last week. He's getting work in the passing game. Obviously, the revenge narrative, which Gerson loves. I know it's not in Green Bay, but still, 6.2 I think is a good price for Aaron Jones for the type of workload that he's getting.
Yeah, they were giving Cam Akers more work, and then last week they were like, "Okay, you get 82% of the touches again." So like, yeah, at that workload at 6,200, like, sign me up.
Lock it in for sure. All right, let's move down into the value tier, and Tim, you kick it off here because you got a guy that neither me nor Gerson have, but I do like this guy.
Yeah, I don't like the value tier really at all this week, and that's what I was going to say. Like, to me, Aaron Jones is the last good click, in my opinion. But one guy who's been getting more run over the last couple of weeks, Tajay Spears, Tennessee. Tony Pollard is literally on one leg right now, and last week was when we kind of saw that shift where they leaned more on Spears. So there's not a lot of value at running back this week. He's 5,400. It's a great matchup against the Jags. I think he could easily be this week's like Jerome Ford was last week, where he went off for that 25 points at 5,400. So he's probably the only guy under 6K I really feel good about this week.
Yeah, good stuff. Gerson, what you got for a salary saver down here?
I go back to what Tim says. You're probably not going to want to play these value running back. You're just going to be wasting a roster spot on an 8-game slate. That's very important to utilize everything you can. But if I were to play one, I have some limited exposure. It's Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford is kind of like game script proof, because if the game gets out of hand, he'll be catching the ball, and we've seen him get balls through the receiving game. And he's a pretty good running back. Like I don't think people realize how fast and how very what do we call it, elusive he is.
Yeah.
But I don't know who's starting at quarterback in this game. I think it's going to be DTR again, right?
DTR, yeah.
Okay, and he's just gonna dump it off. I mean, he sucks. I don't know why they. I mean, I get it. I mean, you don't want to win games, but at least give Jameis the helm. Like, what do you have to lose? Lose? I mean, yeah, okay, but yeah, Jerome Ford 5.9, but I'm gonna keep it pretty basic with the guys that are really, really good play, because they're not only good plays, but they're like good value for the price. So like, don't waste that roster spot when everybody's going to have them.
Agreed. The only other guy I wanted to mention is Tyrone Tracy versus Indiana at 5.8, in that same vein where, I don't really want to click on his name, but if you need to save the money, he's someone you can click on. We're making good time here, so I wanted to talk about Jamie's comment here. So he said he built a lineup. He hasn't played DFS much all year, but he's got Mayfield, Aaron Jones, Dwaddle, Mike Evans, Brian Thomas Jr., Calvin Ridley, Ferguson, McMillan as his flex with the Raiders defense. Is there anything in that lineup, Tim, that you don't like?
Not really. I mean, I don't love Rico Dowdle, but I think you had to pay down somewhere to get Baker, Evans, Thomas. So I don't hate that. I would probably play Spears, but like overall, I think it's a pretty strong lineup. I like every other piece.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk about the receivers here in a minute, but I think we probably have all three of those guys on our list.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned Ferguson already. Dowdle's not a guy that I like either, but I mean, he is getting the volume, and he's the only guy there. So I can. But yeah, he's another guy. Gerson, any complaints with this lineup here?
No, it looks like a good GPP lineup. I mean, he got the run back. That's what I would do. Make sure you have the run back. Yeah. I don't see a Panther player in there, right?
No.
So if this is a GPP lineup, you need to have a run back. I mean, Coker, Thielen, or I don't know if Jet's playing or not. I haven't checked, but probably have a run back, and that's the only thing I would change. But yeah, it's a solid lineup.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and get to the wide receivers.
And now, wide receivers.
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and double drop it here.
Lock it in.
All right, so my lock of the week this week is Mike Evans at 7.5. Now, we've already talked about him chasing the 1,000 yards. I think he needs like 93 yards in each game to get to 1,000. But I want to talk about something else that he's actually going to be chasing as well. He's got an incentive that he gets $500,000 for every playoff game that the Bucs play in, if he plays
Oh,
60% of the snaps. He is currently sitting at 56.9% of snaps. I did the math. If they average, their average right now is 67 plays per game. If they stay with their average, they're going to end up with, I think, 900 or something, 1,087 plays. Essentially, he needs 100 more plays. So 50 plays in this game, 50 plays in the last game to hit that 60% mark, so he can get his $500,000 for every playoff game. So I think even if the Bucs get up big here, I think Mike Evans is still going to be in the game at 7.5, and we know they want to give him that 1,000 yards, so they're going to be throwing the ball a ton. Hopefully, there's no weather issues here, but at 7.5, I think Mike Evans is the guy I'll be clicking on for sure this week. All right, let's go to you, Tim. Give me one of your.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Evans is my first click at wide receiver. But second, we're going back to your lock from last week, bro. It's Brian Thomas Jr. How do you not just click this guy in every lineup, right? 6,800. He's just too cheap for the volume he's been seeing. 36 targets over the last 3 weeks, I think. I mean, dude's just on an absolute tear. And yeah, he's playing Tennessee, but this is not the same Tennessee earlier in the season, right? They don't have Snead, they don't have Tart. They are a shell of where they formerly were, and they still got that little number next to them in DraftKings. But unfortunately, everybody's caught on to how good he is, as he'll probably be the highest owned wide receiver on the slate. But he's a $7,500, at least, if not an $8,000 wide receiver at 6,800. So like, he should be 30+% owned.
Yeah, I talked about it last week. He's an elite receiver. You're not paying elite prices.
Elite, yeah,
it's 6.8
elite
for sure. Let's go ahead and do your lock, Gerson.
Lock it.
Man, I'm trying to cough in between when you do the drop, so then I get rid of it, Yeah, I mean, I never thought that I would use this guy as a lock of the week because he's just
in 2024.
Yeah, in 2024. Adam Thielen, Carolina Panthers wide receiver, the oldest white guy to ever step on the field, I swear. No, I'm kidding. There's been a lot older guys, but he is very, very cheap, 5.7K. For a guy that's gotten 28 targets over the last 3 weeks, don't look at last week's game. I mean, just throw that out the window. But before that, I mean, he got 23 points, 22 points. So we know what he can do when he gets usage. And the other thing is, he already played Tampa Bay. This was 2 weeks ago, and he had 23 points against them. He had 100 yards. He almost had 100 yards. He had 99 yards. So you would have gone an extra, 3 points they give you on DraftKings?
Yep.
Yeah. So he could have had 26 points. And the Buccaneers pass defense is still injured. So that's still there, So I love the price. I love the matchup. I love the game environment. I'm going to have a lot of Adam Thielen. I think Adam Thielen might be one of my highest owned players. So, I mean, for his price and the usage he's going to get, I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him.
Yeah, I like
it. He was in my best lineup last week.
Oh, go ahead. What do you say, Tim?
No, I agree. I don't love a ton of wide receivers in that 5K range. He's easily my favorite click in there.
Yeah, good stuff. The guy I'm gonna put on here is Jacoby Myers. We didn't talk about him last week, and he didn't end up doing a whole lot of anything, but I do think he's still getting a lot of targets in that offense. They're playing at New Orleans, so they're gonna be in the dome. There'll be no chance of weather. So at 6K, I still like Myers here in the top here. We still got some guys to talk about, so we'll go back through. Tim, give me another one of your favorite plays here.
Yeah, I'll keep the homer hat on. I mentioned earlier I like Jordan Love. I also really like Jaden Reed. He's been kind of letting down for a lot of the season, but I think his best game this season came against Minnesota, and I think he's going to run it back this week. At 5,900, he's just too cheap for the upside, right? We didn't like playing him when he was 6,700 or whatever, right? Just because of the volume, but down at 5,900, like you're basically, like you said, playing Adam Thielen, and there's not a whole lot else. So if you want somebody that's got 30-point upside at 5,900, like who else is there?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm kind of fading away into my background here as we get the question, but yeah, man, I'm going to be way overexposed on Jaden Reed. And if that burns me, that burns me. But he's somebody I think the field in general is too low on this week.
Agreed. I do want to we have another question in the chat since we are making good time here. This is actually a season-long question. So, Gerson, I'm going to go to you. He's got a bunch of questions here. Quarterback, he's got Tua, Richardson, or Bryce Young. And then the full PPR, he needs to pick one of these three: Tracy, Tajay Spears, or Drake London. And then pick his tight end, Kincaid or Henry. So give us one of each of those there.
So the Tua, Bryce Young, Richardson. I had Tua and Bryce Young, and I dealt with that this week in a league. And my conclusion to that, I'm gonna go with the quarterback that has the highest ceiling. And when you're in the playoff, the championship matchup, it's win or go home. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's not a next week. I'm going Tua in this one because I think he's the one that has the highest ceiling out of those two quarterbacks, Bryce Young and him. Tracy, Tajay, or London. I think that one's pretty easy for me. I'd probably pick London because of the matchup, and he's the best player in that tier. But Tracy does have a really good matchup. So, but I'm gonna go with the guy that I know that's gonna get the volume with London. Kincaid or Henry. I'm guessing that Hunter Henry because Derrick Henry already played. But
Sure.
I'm gonna go Kincaid again. I look for ceiling. I understand Henry sometimes has these very consistent game, but I'm going for the guy that can get me the highest point. But yeah, I don't know. Well, there you go. Henry might not play. I know Richard. I don't think Richardson plays. To be honest, I really don't. Because you usually practice or do some sort of activity by Friday, and I swear we're like 90% every single time, like accurate on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the guys I go. I go to London and Kincaid.
Yeah, I think on the Kincaid versus Henry call as well, because like you mentioned, Henry is the guy you play in the regular season to not give you a 0. Kincaid is the guy that you want to play in your championship game because you need that touchdown, you need that big play, and I think he has that ability. So yeah, I think it's Kincaid, London for me as well, and I think I'm also going Tua. I've been riding Tua in my championship league, and I'm in the championship game, and I have Tua starting, so I like Tua there as well.
I'll agree there.
All right, let's go ahead and move on here. So, Gerson, let's go back to wide receiver here. We still got some guys at the top to talk about. Justin Jefferson or Devon Adams. You pick one there.
Yeah, Mike Evans going to be highly played. So is, what's his name? Thielen. But I think the guy that I think you're going to want to, he's the slate breaker, right? He's the guy that can break the slate. And it's Mr. Justin Jefferson, I'm pretty sure I haven't looked it up, but I'm pretty sure Justin Jefferson also has incentives. So whatever he wants to hit it. Against Green Bay, it's pricey. So if you're gonna have to find a way to get different at running back, because running backs are still mid-tier, higher price. But if I were to pivot away and try to get different, I definitely have to have Justin Jefferson in that lineup. To me, I'm gonna play him a lot more in stacks with Darnold rather than one-off with other lineups. So if you have Justin Jefferson, mostly you want to stack him.
Yep.
That game last week, he saved my ass in a lot of fantasy leagues. So we seen the ceiling with him, and his floor is what 18 points. 17 points. Sure, he had a 4-point game or something like that, but I can't remember what happened that game. But yeah, throw that out the window. But it's the best game environment. He's at 19% owned right now, so everybody's gonna be playing him. It's just pricing is the issue. But I'm gonna find a way to get to him and make my running backs a little cheaper. But Bucky Irvin, Chuba Hubbard, you can make it work.
100%.
Yeah, I think with Jair Alexander being ruled out, he became a much better play.
Agreed.
Alexander had somewhat held him in check. We've had to move him around. So yeah, what?
Tim, you got
one? Say that to him.
Yeah, I know.
Tim, you got one more guy there in the top. You want to talk about?
Yeah, we got to talk about Devontae Adams. I don't know if he's going to play. I think last I checked, he was questionable. Maybe he's off the injury report. But
he had a full practice today. They haven't released it yet, but he did practice in full today.
Yeah, it's just two things. One, volume, right? His volume has crept up significantly the last few weeks. But the other thing is, so has his slot percentage. They're playing a lot more of him out of the slot. And we saw in that game with Detroit, Monroe St. Brown tear up this same Buffalo Bills defense out of the slot. That's how you beat them. Their corners out wide are pretty good, but in the slot, a little bit more exploitable. So Yeah, if he plays 60-70% of slot snaps, I think Adams could absolutely smash here. He's going to be popular, but I think most people in that range are going to play BTJ or Mike Evans, so he might not be as popular as he probably should be.
Yeah, talking about his volume there, last 4 games, 12 targets, 11 targets, 12 targets, 13 targets. So, yeah, that's some elite volume right there, and you want to chase volume.
And didn't he have, like, in one of those games, he had, like, legit, I think he had a 0 in the first half.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 weeks, and then
the one he had 40
out.
points. Yeah.
Yeah.
It all came in the second half.
Was that? That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, I think he had 2 targets, no catches in the first half.
Yep.
Crazy.
All right, Gerson, let's move down into the salary savers here. Give me one of your salary saving receivers.
So I'm going to go. I honestly was going to use this guy as my sick call of the week, but then I realized that his ownership was like 11%, 10%. I'm like, fudge, you know? But Josh Downs, 4.8K.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I don't think Anthony Richardson will play, and Anthony Richardson basically kills Josh Downs' value. But you know who makes his value look awesome? It's Joe Flacco. That guy will just sling it to his best wide receiver. And I do believe Josh Downs is better than Michael Pittman. Don't kill me. Don't come at me. I just think he's just better. But we saw when Downs played with Flacco, he was having a really good game. And I think his price got up to like 6,000, didn't he? At one point when he was with Flacco.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're looking at that's another cheap play. That's 4.8K. You know, that's so cheap. I mean, he had a 22-point game against Pittsburgh, 19-point game against Tennessee, a 25-point game against Houston. So he has a ceiling, you know. And if you can get down Thielen and then, you know, Jefferson, you can kind of work a really good lineup, you know. But you're gonna have to watch the news though, because if Richardson's out, that's gonna change the slate a lot. Because I'm gonna have a lot of Taylor, because one, what's his name, Richardson's not gonna run the ball, and Taylor will, and then I'm gonna have a lot of Downs.
Yeah.
And Flacco, maybe.
Downs got up to 6,400 at one point. So, yeah, he's definitely a much
9,800 for Flacco and Downs.
Yeah.
That's just cheating. It really is.
Agreed. Tim, what about you? What you got for a salary saver here?
Oh, man. I really don't love this week.
Say that with pump your chest out. Pump your chest out and say it like a man.
Yeah, I don't love the value this week. I'm not going to lie. I think we've touched on the best ones. Maybe Calvin Ridley. We haven't really talked about Calvin Ridley at 5,500. I mentioned that my projections really like Mason Rudolph. I don't know why.
Tim's about to roll out Shiga Conquo, Calvin Ridley, and Mason Rudolph.
I have a Mason stack. Yeah, it's what's coming up in my value, man. So you know, I'm not even going to get into the narrative side of this, right? He's got consistent volume. It's the best possible matchup for wide receivers against Jacksonville. So yeah, at 5,500, he just is kind of in that range where we're going to be living this week.
Yeah,
right? You're going to have to pick 1 or 2 guys in this range if you want to play up for a Mike Evans or a Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I'll take one more guy here, and it's based on the CeeDee Lamb news we talked about already. Lamb's going to miss the last 2 games of the season. So Brandon Cooks, 4.6. I know it's a tough matchup. I don't love it at 4.6, but the volume is going to be there because there's really nobody else to throw the ball to other than Jake Ferguson and Brandon Cooks. So at 4.6, I don't mind Brandon Cooks. And then Tim, you have him listed as McMillions. I like that 4.6 or 4.8, right? No, he's 4.6 for Tampa Bay. You know, a pivot off Mike Evans. If you want to get exposure to that game with Baker Mayfield, you can go with McMillan as well, who's had a
my personal advice on these guys. If you're gonna go down to 4.6 and 4.6 for McMillan and Cook, I'd rather find a way to get up to Cook. What's his name? Down for $200 more. Agreed. I would try my hardest because Cooks. I mean, that Eagles secondary all of a sudden is nasty with Quinyon Mitchell and that white boy. And I'm not trying to be racist. I just don't know his fucking name. But
Cooper
yeah, I mean, he doesn't look white out there because he covers himself. So it's pretty smart. So they don't pick on him. But okay.
Brandon Cooks could see 10 targets and have 7 or 8 points.
Yeah.
Like it's really ridiculous that's like really in the range of possibilities this week.
Dude, I can't even see what's his name. I know I make fun of him a lot on the chat. Is it Cooper? What's his name? The quarterback?
Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush. In this game, he's gonna get like demolished because he's not gonna have wide receivers to throw to, and the only one that he can actually probably get the ball off in the time that he probably had time is gonna be Ferguson.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed.
All right, let's get to the defenses.
Defense.
All right, Tim, you've been crushing the defenses this year, so keep it up. What you got?
Yeah, so last week I had the Bengals. That ended up being in the winning Millie Maker line. I said target DTR. We're going to target DTR again this week with the Miami Dolphins, 3,200. We used to say target Will Levis. They finally benched Will Levis. They gave us DTR. As long as we have DTR, we're going to target DTR. So 3,200, I think you can get there this week. I also really like the Saints at a bounce back game after getting embarrassed by my Green Bay Packers at home against AOC. And then my paydown quarterback, paydown is the Browns. If they can keep it close against Tua, then I think they could pay off that salary. But you guys just talked about probably my favorite defense on the week. So Geoff or Gerson, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take it because I only have the one defense, and that's the Eagles at 3.1, which we just mentioned. Cooper Rush is going to have no one to throw to except Jake Ferguson. So yeah, Eagles defense is gonna feast on this Dallas team here. So yeah, Eagles.
They're taking this game pretty personal.
Like, they need this game too, and they know it. Like they're gonna
after what happened last
week. It could be as bad as that last couple games, like that one we saw the other night. I mean, ooh.
Any other defenses you want to mention?
I just don't know how that offense is even going to run without Lamb. Like, I don't know how. Yeah, so I like the Dolphins defense, Eagles defense, but a defense that I'm targeting is going to be the Raiders defense. I'm not trying to be a homer or anything, but it's just more of a Kamara is going to be out. I don't know if I think he got declared out, right, already?
Yeah.
Derek Carr's out. Rattler starting, right? So, yeah, I mean, I can't see that offense scoring 20 points, or even then they're gonna force some turnover. Like the Raiders' defense is not as horrible as people think it is. They actually, when it shows up, like that. That was the thing. Like, I told my brother, he asked me Brian Thomas or who was it? I can't remember, but there's another wide receiver, and I'm like, start Brian Thomas. He was so pissed at me when I can't remember the other wide receiver that went off, but he went off, and my brother, I'm like, just wait, dude. The Raiders will just allow big plays, and that's it. But they don't really. If you really go look at like some of their game, they kind of limit their points.
Yeah.
But yeah, give me the Raiders at 2.6K. But really, 3.1K for a defense that can probably get you 20 points. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think if you can find a way to the Eagles this week, you just do it.
Yep, agreed. All right, time for our stacks.
GoingFor2.com's weekly stack report.
Little peek behind the curtain here. So we have the spreadsheet that we all use, and Tim is always the first one to fill his sheet out. He does it, I believe, on Thursdays. I don't fill mine out till Fridays. And I had already planned to take this stack until I saw that Tim already had it.
So, just take it then. Go ahead. I don't care.
Go ahead, man. This is all you. I got my stack. Go ahead and talk about the Baker stack here.
Yeah. So I did not. I wore the hoodie today, but I did not want to go full homer with the stack of the week as well. So I went with Baker, man. He rates out as my best quarterback, points per dollar, and second only to Josh Allen in terms of raw numbers. So I'm going to go that route with Mike Evans, your lock of the week, Durham for the cheap tight end, and then Gerson's lock of the week, Adam Thielen. I will say that I had this stack in here before either of you had chose your lock of the week either. So it's just stone cold lock it in.
Yeah, that's definitely a great stack right there. It'll be popular, but it's a good stack to have.
For sure.
Gerson, what you got for your actually, you know what? Since you have your sit call as part of your stack, I'll go next, and then we can do the drop to get the sit call so you can do your stack. So I have I kind of copped out a little bit, and I took the Eagles defense that we just talked about and Saquon Barkley. just a running back with a great defense. I think they're both going to smash. It is expensive, but I think in an 8-game slate, you need that tremendous upside. And I think the Eagles defense and Barkley could end up being the highest point total at their position for this slate. So,
sure,
that'll be my stack this week. Gerson, what you got for your stack?
Yeah, I mean, so I had Darnold, Jefferson, Hawkinson, and then my sick call. You want to hit the sick call or?
And now, the sick call of the week.
Dontavian Wick. I don't think Christian Watson will play. I think he's going to be out. I don't know his last practice report, but I don't think he practiced today. I could be wrong though.
He's all week. You're correct.
Yeah. So if he's out, Wick at his price of 3.9K, I think he is. Right? 3.
Yes.
Yeah, 3.9K. Right now, the ownership. I do expect the ownership to go up though. But our rule is what on that night that we talk about it. So yeah. Unless it's an obvious one, like the Tyrone Tracy one. You guys remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, pretty sure he's gonna be owned.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, Wick at 3.9K. That's how you get it really, really cheap. On that stack. I just love Hawkinson, Darnold, and Jefferson, and I'm gonna go with Wick. And you can, put in your flex spot, stealing down, and you can round out the roster. I kind of just gave you my roster, by the way, but yeah, give me Wick at 3.9K. Hey guys, if Tim wins this week, he takes the lead for the season. If I win this week, I take the lead for the season. So this is for all the marbles. Are we gonna do the playoff shows?
We're gonna have
2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, the wildcard weekend too.
Yeah, that'll be tiebreaker if neither one of us gets it this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Dontavian Wicks this week. I think if Watson is ruled out, he becomes the best value play probably on the slate, or at least at wide receiver. I'm going with Jordan Akins. We talked about David Njoku being ruled out. To me, yes. DTR can throw the ball. I heard this stat: 40% of his targets go to tight ends. It doesn't matter who the tight end is. He's just going to feed them targets at 2,700. We talked about how hard value is to come by this week. Yes, like Gerson said, other tight ends are going to give you 10 plus. Jordan Akins could give you a 4, just like Payne Durham, right? Okay, I get that. But if he gives me, 5, or I guess it would be 6, right? Because he can't get 50 yards, right? 6 for 50 yards. And then at 2,700, everything else hits. Like, that's what I'm looking for. I think he's like almost guaranteed to get like 4 for 40 just because it's DTR and all he can do is throw to the tight end.
Yeah.
But like, he doesn't have that 20-point upside of a, Hawkinson or some of these other guys. But
watch the Millie Maker roster going to have Aiken and Darren.
I hope so. I
really
really hope it has
double stack tight end, and everybody going to be like, shit.
Yes, I'm telling you right now, if Flacco is available, I'm playing Flacco. I'm playing Jordan Akins because I already found a lineup where I could get Saquon in there.
Nice.
Boy, that's just – I'll tell you, okay, speaking of peek behind the curtain, last week Geoff messages me. And he goes, hey, Tim, I can fit every good play in this week if I play Malik Washington at wide receiver. And I said, that was sick. But I was like, it looks really good. And sure enough, Geoff absolutely crushed it with that lineup by playing Malik Washington. So don't let Gerson or anyone else tell you these sit calls aren't viable. If they're the last man in and they're $3,700, like sometimes you just roll with it.
Yep. Yeah, I set that lineup to you, and I was like, by the time Sunday came around, like, you know what? I just can't find a lineup I like. Every guy in there loved, so I was like, I'm gonna run with it. So yeah, it worked out. All right, my sit call of the week. So I've been sitting on this drop all season, hoping that this guy would kind of break out so I can play the drop. It hasn't happened, so I'm just gonna play the drop for my sit call. This is Xavier Leggett's sit call here. Of course, that's Gambit from Deadpool, the latest Deadpool and Wolverine movie. I don't know if y'all seen it yet. Where he's like, "Whoa, I'm gonna make a name for myself." So yeah, that is Xavier Leggett at 4.4 at Tampa Bay. I think he's questionable last time I checked, but I did hear
he's going to play.
He is going to play. So If you want to get exposure to that game, if you want a cheap bring back and you don't want to go with Thielen, you can use a Leggett there at 4.4. But he's a sick call. He's pretty sick. But I wanted to play that drop tonight. So, all right, fellas, that is it for 2024. Right? We have one more week, guys. So I'll mention again, we're not going to have a Week 18 show, but we will be back for the wild card weekend. It's a three-day slate. I think it's Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So we'll be talking about those three days on Friday that week. So you won't find us here next Friday, but the Friday after that, you can come check us out. We'll go around the room again, guys, fellas. Just give us where we can find you on Twitter and where we can find you on Facebook, Tim.
Yeah. First of all, shout out to everyone watching us all year long. Hope to see all you guys with us in 2025. But for me, you can find me on Twitter at Keto DFS or on Facebook in the DFS Roundtable group.
Good stuff. And Gerson?
Yeah, you can find me here every Friday. Well, except last Friday. But yeah, I was pretty sick. So I told Geoff, my voice, you're not going to be able to hear my voice. It was so dry and so, I was like, I don't even sound like myself, dude. And I already have a speech impairment, so you guys don't want me to get worse. But yeah, on the DFS Roundtable at Fantasy GDFS. I'm excited. This slate looks like fun. I just made a roster and it looks good. I'm excited. I'm just waiting for the value though. There's gonna be injuries news.
Yeah.
And on an 8-game slate, that could change the whole slate around,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. See you guys playoff. Hey, New Year's Eve, don't drunk drive. Get someone else to drive.
Yeah.
Get an Uber. I don't know. Uber sometimes does the whole you can get a free ride or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they do it this year. But either way, I've always had this quote. We can take you out of jail, but we can't take you out of your funeral.
Yeah.
So be smart. Hang out with your parties and Happy New Year's and all that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, guys. I just wanted to say the same thing. Stay safe. Have a good New Year. We'll be back in 2025 to wrap up the season with the wild card weekend. It's been a great season as always. Appreciate everybody that's been with us for years. I see Scott in the chat, and of course Jamie's in the chat, Kyle in the chat. So it's been really cool doing this over the last, I think it's been 6 or 7 years now. So a lot of fun. We won some good money. Got some guys win some money in the chat too. I know Jared is not here tonight, but he won some money, and of course we had Garrett win some money as well. So yeah, good stuff, fellas. That's it for me, for Gerson, for Tim. We will see y'all in 2025.
Go Pack, go!
Peace.